A-D-N.
It's HeadphonesNeil!
What's up, guys? Welcome back to HeadphonesNeil Reviews. I'm your host, as always, HeadphonesNeil, bringing you this more of an update episode of the podcast, mostly just because I didn't get a chance to finish going all the way through Season 4 of Battlestar Galactica, but I have made it all the way up to the 3-part series finale, Daybreak, so I'm going to hold off my final review of the series until next week, but I wanted to give an update that overall Season 4 keeps building up on the drama, the tension, the stress, and everything that's been going on in the past episodes and seasons. Notably, when we get to the point of the mutiny on Galactica, especially with Gata and the Vice President guy. So overall, it's been very, very good. Even with the disappointment of finding what they thought was Earth, but it's not actually Earth and all that, and everyone's still trying to connect the dots and pieces of the prophecy, the visions, the sacred texts, and all of that stuff. So overall, I'm very impressed by it. I'm sad that I never watched this sooner, but I can see why it holds up to all the hype. So with that being said, as of this episode, I'm heading into the 3-part season finale, so that final review will be next week, to the point where I do want to watch the original 78 or 80 version of Battlestar Galactica to compare the two, and I still want to go back and rewatch Caprica just to see how that holds up with Battlestar Galactica, now that I've seen, or not as of next week, now that I will have seen the series in full and properly and all of that stuff. So with that being said, that's really all I have as far as that review. That I'm almost done, but so far so good, and I can't wait to see how they handle the finale. As far as the Knights of the Old Republic gameplay goes, depending on when you hear this, I'm either almost done with Tatooine, or I will have completed Tatooine. But overall, now that we're done with Terrace, we've escaped, we've met the main villain of the game in the form of Darth Malak, and basically the enemy of the game. Now we have to go rebuild our we have to build up our team, we have to start the missions, and we get a more all-encompassing story in the form of the star maps are going to help lead the way to find the Star Forge and ultimately fall to the dark side, or defeat the enemy. So I'm taking the dark side route now. But overall, once you finish Terrace, you realize that even if you don't have force powers, it's essentially a super long tutorial of the game, so you get used to the armor and upgrading and talking to your teammates and all of that stuff. So if you're gonna take the route of enjoying the most that you possibly can out of the game, regardless of if you're gonna go Jedi or Sith, I want to recommend talking to your teammates. So if you play the game and you want to just breeze through it, and I say breeze in air quotes, but if you want to get through as fast as possible, don't worry about talking to your teammates. Only, like, you can ignore all the prompts that they say, oh, your so-and-so looks like they have a question or they want to say something, talk to them. You can ignore them, skip all those side quests. But if you want an all-encompassing game and you want to get more points sooner to upgrade your character, take on those side quests as early as possible and start those conversations. So by the time you get to Dantooine, make sure you talk to Bastila and Mission, because you want to or actually, before I say all of that, I'm going to recommend the Planet Order first, because that's very important with the character arcs. So once you finish Terrace, you have to go to Dantooine first to do your Jedi training, regardless of if you start the game with force powers or not. Once you get the star map and you find the main mission for the game, that you have to find the rest of them to find the Star Forge, then you're given access to the star map, or the map in Ebon Hawk, and you have to pick an order. So, first place after Dantooine, go to Yavin Station. You want to beat the Rodian at Pazak. You have to beat him like 10 or 15 times. It doesn't have to be in a row, you just have to beat him that many times. So, without the easy Pazak mod, it's going to take forever. So, just get a cup of coffee and be prepared for the long haul. With the easy Pazak mod, it takes a lot less time because it evens out the game's AI and abilities and all that. But the reason you want to do that, because regardless of if you beat him or not, you're going to get access to his goods, but they're going to be super expensive, even if you sell all your equipment to him because he gives you better rates, but it's still going to be super duper expensive. So you want to beat him at Pazak and have him give you the discounts on his goods so everything becomes more affordable, so you get better armor, better weapons, and upgrades and things like that. So that's right off the bat for Yavin Station. You do want to visit him after, I think it's after every star map or every other star map, that once you get them, the first time you go to him, you beat him at Pazak, so he'll say, I can't afford to play you anymore, so here, I'll give you a discount on my goods. They're very special, rare items. The second time you go there, you're going to find out about these Trandoshans who are harassing him. So essentially, you want to protect the Rodian from the Trandoshans, regardless of the light or dark side. That way, when you do that, he's going to give you access to even more goods. So that's the main update there. And then at the end, the third time you visit him, the Trandoshans will come back and forth, so you have to defeat them. And as a thank you for saving the Rodian from the Trandoshans, he's going to give you access to the final set of goods that are even more rare than before. And this is the two main things that stand out here, because this is what I always get. But in this gameplay, when I get to that point, I'm going to double check all his wares. But he gives you these two lightsaber crystals called Mantle of the Force and Heart of the Jedi, that essentially when you replace the color crystal in your lightsabers, it boosts all the stats of your lightsaber to intensely high or insanely high stats. So that's why you want to get the discount in the beginning of the game, so you can afford those later on depending on your gameplay and style and all that. So if you only go with the one lightsaber route, you can only use either one of those lightsaber crystals at a time. So depending on your setup, you can pick the better one. And the same thing goes if you use a double-bladed lightsaber. But if you do a dual-wielding lightsaber, so two individual ones, then you can use both crystals at the same time. So you can play around with that a little bit more. So there is that. But the thing to remember is that before you go to the Starforge system, not the Starforge itself, but the Starforge system, because you're going to crash on an unknown world, you want to go to the Yavin Station before you enter the system, because once you go to the system, then all prior missions, access to the Yavin Station, and all of that is done. And you can no longer go back there. Even once you get off the unknown world, you cannot go back to Yavin Station. You can only go to the Starforge. So that's the thing to remember there. So you have to make sure you finish that mission ahead of time. So back to the gameplay, regular gameplay. After you go to Yavin Station the first time, then I recommend going to Tatooine. It's the easiest of planets. You go through Anchorhead. If you've finished talking to Bastila and Mission as far as you can, you're going to be able to start Mission's brother's side quest, because he's working for Zerka, and for Bastila, you're going to do her mom's side quest to find out what happened to her dad. The main thing here is you do need to visit a starport before you go to the Tatooine starport. So because after Yavin Station, you've already been to Dantooine, go back to Dantooine, exit your ship with Bastila and Mission in your party, or Bastila or Mission in your party. It'll start their cutscene. Go back on the ship, come back out, and then you can come back out with the other one, and you can start their side quest, and you'll find out that they're both on Tatooine. So now when you go to Tatooine and go to the Circa office, you'll find out that Mission's brother Griff has been taken by the Sand People. And then Bastila's mom says her dad has been missing, and he has this holocron to remember him by, which whether you give that to Bastila's mom or not doesn't matter, but you have to recover it to finish that mission. So For Mission's brother Griff, when you go to the Sand People Enclave, that's where you'll find him, across the room from where the Jawas are being held. So when you talk to him, he'll go back to the Zerka office. And the only way to finish his quest is to get a tack gland, which when you go to the next planet, Kashyyyk, and finish that, you'll have a tack gland in your inventory, so you can go back to Tatooine, talk to Griff. He'll basically give you a grift as far as making Teresian ale, so that'll be the way to finish the side quest for Mission's brother. With Bastila's mom, when you go to the Crate Dragon Cave to find the star map, there'll be some ruins with a guy, and you'll find a holocron, unnamed and all that. That's the holocron for Bastila's dad. So now you can go back to the cantina in Anchorhead, talk to Bastila's mom with the holocron. You can either give it to her or keep it, and you'll be done with that mission. So Super is mostly all-encompassing. Mission's brother does require you to go to Kashyyyk to get the tack gland, but regardless, that's probably because you're going to have to go to Kashyyyk anyways and go to the lower Shadowlands. It's not like you're going out of your way to get that done. You just have to remember to go back to Tatooine to finish that mission. With that being said, once you get the star map from Tatooine, then you want to go to Kashyyyk because of the Tagland as a side quest, but you're also going to pick up Jolee Bindo because you're going to need him on the next planet, Manan, as far as the Jolie's friend side quest. But you also want to go to Kashyyyk next to finish the Zalbar story arc and get Baka's blade. So when you do that, if you're going to use Zalbar a lot for attacks and you're using him for weapons, Baka's blade is a very, very powerful weapon. If you upgrade it, it becomes even more powerful. So Kashyyyk is kind of that stopping point, but if you do want to be a completionist for story arcs, you do need Jolie's friend to go to Manan to start that side quest. But also, Canderous and Karth also have their own story arcs. So before you go to Manan, you want to talk to both of them and get caught up on all their stories, because Canderous is going to have to deal with the past warriors and a guy who has a grudge against him, which ends up finishing in the Dune Sea on Tatooine. But if you take the Genohardin quest, which I'm probably saying that wrong, on Manan, you're going to have to go back there anyways to finish it, so it's kind of a twofer to get that done. On Manan, you're also going to want to take Karth when you exit the spaceport in order to activate his son Dustil's story arc, because he's going to be found on Korriban. So this is kind of prepping ahead. So after you finish Manan, then you're going to go to Kashyyyk to deal with all of that. And then you'll find his son and you can finish that story arc. If you've saved Juhani, then you can take her around on Kashyyyk. I think one of her classmates ends up running away and you find him there and all of that, but her story arc is more dealing with slavers and all of that stuff, and it doesn't really impact. I mean, it has like kind of a lore-ish quality to it, so more of like the universe as a whole, but it doesn't really take you very far or deal with much as far as, rounding out the Juhani character, because you've done that on Tatooine already by either saving her or killing her. So in this gameplay, that's why I killed her off, but she does work as a better Jedi than Jolee because she's younger, so her health stats are a little bit better. So if you want an extra Jedi, then I would recommend keeping her. Jolie's okay, but his health drains way, way too quickly. But if you want an extra Force user, then keep him, because once you get to the Leviathan portion of the game, you're not going to have Bastila. She's going to be kidnapped by Malak, so you have to deal with all of that. And also at this point, this is where some of the story gets intertwined, because you're found by the Leviathan. You have to finish that level. Malak tells, or Saul Kareth tells Karth that you're Revan and the main villain from the beginning of the game. I am spoiling that because we're now 20 years later, so all of that. But there's all that back and forth. Once you're done with Korriban, the rest of the team will find out who you are, so depending on your alliance, people will stay or leave, and then you'll end up going to the Starforge and once you're done with the unknown world and the temple and all that, you'll go to the Star Forge and finish it out. So basically kind of gets convoluted but straightens away really fast. The Star Forge is the final mission. It does take quite some time, so you have to be prepared for the long haul there. But that's kind of the order of doing the planet, so that way you can deal with all of the story arcs, your characters' arcs, and all of that stuff, and also get all the goods from Yavin Station while you're at it. So that's kind of a quick summary of the game. So the gameplay that I'm going through is following that order, so it'll make more sense as we get those as all those gameplay videos come out. So I'll give those updates as we go, but as of now we're finishing up Tatooine, so after that we're finishing up Dantooine, so after Dantooine is going to be Yavin Station and then Tatooine. So I'll provide more context on that and updates and all of that stuff with what's going on, but that's all there is for this particular episode. So I thought I said it was going to be kind of short, but talking about Knights of the Old Republic does sometimes take time, and I did want to give a little bit more updates from last week. So with that being said, thanks for tuning into this particular episode. Being a supporter, supporting the show. All the gameplay videos are up on the YouTube channel at youtube.com/Pateln01. But that's all there is for this particular episode. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time.